Well, hi, everybody. Welcome to the Meno Lounge. I'm Julie Gordon-White, CEO of MenoWell, Menopause Energy and Protein Bars. These things, except for I ate it. Anybody here doing major workouts? Hey there. Lifting weights, lifting heavier, and I am so hungry. I ate this bar and I'm almost positive I'm gonna eat this one too. But hey, that's the whole point. Got in my, let's see, 25% of my daily fiber for only 150 calories and 8 grams of protein. Whoop, whoop. So if you're working out, lifting heavy, make sure you have your bars. All right, I'm going to bring up our guest, and actually, I'm not going to, like, you don't hear anything. Here she comes. One of my most favorite people in the whole entire world, Tracy McCubbin, incoming. Hello,
Hi.
Tracy McCubbin. How are you?
I'm good, Julie Gordon-White. What's going on?
Oh, I was just sharing how I had major workout this morning, so, probably gonna eat this one too.
Well, you'll appreciate this. The other day, I was like so hungry, but not really hungry, but really wanted a sweet treat, but didn't really, with a little bit emotional eating. And I was like, oh, there's a MenoWell bar. I had half.
The one down in the bottom of your purse, all broken up. Usually the very best one, right?
Yeah.
I love it. T.
Yeah.
Okay, we have to confess, those of you who don't know, probably most of you, Tracy and I have been besties since we were, wait for it, 4 years old. And since we're only 34, it's only been 30 years. Okay, it's been 55 years of beautiful sisterhood. So, Pam, I hope you said no sound. Hopefully you can hear us. We're here. Tracy, can you hear me?
I can hear you perfectly.
Okay,
Yeah.
good. So I wanted to bring T on today. Those of you, okay, let me grab the Bibles on organizing. Tracy is a celebrity organizer, master declutterer, the OG, I would say, with all the things without doing too many things. 2 amazing best-selling books. My favorite, Making Space Clutter Free. I mean, if you don't have this in your shelf, you have to get it. This is also awesome, Making Space for Happiness. But to me, if you do this, then you get this. You know what I mean? So the clutter blocks are real. I usually shout one out to my husband at least once a week, like, oh. So
your fantasy stuff for your fantasy life. Yeah.
Right? Like in the junk drawer I just opened up this morning in our sort of liquor cabinet thing that we don't even use, but he has his fancy brandies and stuff in there. I'm like, you're hoarding in this drawer. He's like, I might need that. Okay. Today, though, we are talking about empty nesters. Huge. So many of the women in our stage, I'm done with this area of my life. Well, actually, I got one in my basement who came back. But so many women are talking about sending their kiddos off to school or off for a gap year or just whatever. Maybe they're even still in the house, but they're tired of their stuff, T. How are they going to deal with being an empty nester while with their kids' stuff still in the house? They're in this weird stage, right? Because some of the kids are coming back, some are not.
Well,
Where should we start with this?
I think it's interesting because I think that there's no one rule. Like your kids go to college and all their stuff goes out because again, like to buy a house these days, like, kids aren't getting into their own place. Maybe they're going to go to grad school. But I think it's really, I just go back to what Brene Brown says all the time, like clear is kind, like talking about the expectation of you're going on to your next chapter. We're so excited. We want to make some changes in the house. It's also not kind to leave a mess behind. So, I've been talking to so many clients where they're like, before their kids, we actually helped a bunch too, before their kids went off to college, like, you got to deal with your room. You can't leave it like this because XYZ, if the roof leaks and we've got to clean, like, you're moving into adulthood and you need to be responsible for your stuff. And I think there's a way to have that conversation, not like my mom did to my brother, come get your stuff out of the garage, but
Trauma
understanding
time.
yeah, trauma time, pink Barbie car in the, in the garage. But about what's your house going to become in that same way that you're looking at your life. What is my life going to be now that I don't have to pick kids up from school and take them to soccer and do all this? Also, what is our house going to be? Is it the place that we want everyone to come back for the holidays? Or are we thinking about downsizing? I think that's a really important thing when you're talking about decluttering for empty nesters, is sharing with the family what your goal is, so the kids don't feel attacked, right? Like, you're just telling me to do this and you're ripping up my childhood home, but saying, like, in the next couple of years, we want to move to a smaller house because we want to save money, we want to travel X, Y, and Z, and that means we've got to declutter. So I think if you share that, it's really helpful for everybody to understand, look, a family is a community and we're all interacting together, and we can't be held hostage by one person's stuff. So I think it's really understanding. And another really great thing too, and I've seen this conversation and been part of it with clients too, is kind of explaining to your kids, like, you're going on to this next chapter. You may become a different person, right? Who do you want to be in your college life?
Yeah.
Who do you want to be out on when you launch? Does this stuff serve that?
Yeah. Ooh, there was a lot in there to unpack.
I know. I'm like, I'm
okay, wait.
there.
So why didn't you tell me this when my kids went off, that I should declutter before they left? Because hello, the junk was real. So you're saying that it's okay.
Ma'am, we did have a
Oh.
FaceTime when your daughter was packing all those shoes. And I was like, what are you doing? What are you doing?
I forgot about that. The shoes. Oh, the shoes.
And really helping, I think it's been interesting to, in working with clients whose kids are going through this, that also this chance of like letting kids who are heading out to college realize, like, this is a chance to maybe reinvent yourself. Like, were you a messy kid and that's not working anymore? Do you want to be organized because you're going to have a full load at college? Like, helping them understand that these changes can help you and serve you.
Yeah. No, it's really big, and it's positive versus like, you have too much junk and you have too many shoes. And because I can tend to, like, I went that route because I'm not a sentimental person. A few things here or there, but I would say the majority of my family is very attached to things, right? Starts with my husband, right? And so it felt hard to say, we got to get rid of this. Although my office right now that I'm sitting in used to be my daughter's bedroom. So
I know, but she's like got her she's got a professional job. It's not like, she may come back, but she's launched onto this next part of her life. And I think that's the thing, that helping kids realize too, that, okay, you're going off to college, you're launching, you're still responsible for your stuff. You gathered all this stuff. Do you want it? Do you want to keep it? Do we have the ability to store it? If we do, we're lucky and we can keep a bedroom. But I think that it's really looking at where you want to go as an empty nester. What do you want next?
That's a huge point. So deciding, if you're solo, who you want to be as the adult, as the parent, or if you have a spouse or partner, who do you want to be together as these kids move out of the house? And now it does get tricky when there's still some kids left in the house. Some are gone, some are going, right? So I guess there's a transition period there. But when it's like anything with parenting, when you get clear of who you want to be as a parent, then you can direct the kids versus just letting them, because I don't think most kids, tell me if I'm wrong, you would know more, really want to disturb their home, where they grew up. They want to keep their stuff. They want that home base.
I think when they go away to college, there's very much my childhood home and I'm leaving. And that's why a lot of people wait to downsize, like not straight away. But I think that you can start to introduce the conversation, like, okay, at the very minimum, you got to deal with your room. Like, we would have people come and stay and, this kind of this kind of stuff. And for us, when we were working with clients, we just worked with a lovely young woman who's on her way to Yale, and and just it was great because the conversation. One of my organizers who worked with her is not out of college that long. I mean, I'm out of college 100 million years ago. Like, I drove to college in a Model T. That's how long I've been there.
Not quite, because I was in the 70 Volkswagen, even though it wasn't quite the 70s, but
Yeah, I was in an 81 Dodge Colt. Yes. But just so my organizer was just having this conversation about, do you want to take all this stuff with you that was your middle school and high school life? Like, is that, and this young woman was very like, I don't know what I'm going to be like in college. And it's like, isn't that exciting? Like, you don't know what you like. You've super been into sports, but maybe you'll get into theater, or, and just understanding, I think helping kids understand that by sort of not going with all this stuff, you're opening yourself up to possibility. If you go with like all the old photos and the old posters and the old pictures and the things you always had, you may be keeping yourself a little bit stuck. But
okay, so when they say, okay, no, I don't want to take all that with me, but I don't want you to throw it away. Now what?
Yeah, then you need to be responsible, and you need to get it organized, and you need to pack it up. Like, you have to be accountable. This is your stuff. I'm happy to store it for you. I'm happy, like, we don't need this bedroom, but we need it if somebody comes to stay, they need to be able to sleep in it. Like, if you don't want us to toss it, then you need to be accountable for it. It's real simple. And maybe that's just getting 10 storage bins and they pack it up and it goes in the garage, but just like, it goes with it. Like, if you want to keep it, you got to be accountable.
Yeah, that's a huge piece, because it doesn't feel like, especially kids, are accountable for their own stuff, right? Maybe because it was given to them, or if they bought it themselves, they tend to be a little bit more accountable. But if it was given to them, or just, I don't know, entitled's a big word, but they just expect that they're going to have this stuff.
Look,
right?
When my niece went, I mean, the biggest conversation my niece, like when my niece first went to college, she texted me and she was like, I don't think she'd ever bought feminine hygiene products for herself, right? They just always had been in the house. And she was like, oh my God, they're so expensive. And you're like,
right. You're like, yeah, like eggs.
Yeah, exactly. And so, they're learning all those lessons, and you don't want to wipe it out, but it also is like, you got to be accountable for your stuff.
Be accountable for your stuff. And that starts with parent holding them accountable and not just doing it because the story that, once I decluttered, Georgia's my main keeper. I call her keeper. I decluttered her stuff once in 8th grade for the fall festival. And she went to the fall festival and used the $10 I gave her to buy food and do the crafts and things like that. And she bought back all of her stuff. Worst mom ever. Just saying.
I mean, at least she bought it back. At least she learned.
I guess.
Sorta.
She's still using it against me. So give me the permission level, right? We're talking about little older kids in 8th grade, but we shouldn't throw out their stuff without permission.
Definitely without a conversation. I mean, you have to have the conversation of like, this is what we want to do. This is how we see the house. Like, you are coming back next summer, so we will leave your room for you. Oh no, you're doing an internship in Switzerland. I think it's having the conversation and then setting realistic expectations. Like, okay, if your summer was so crazy and you didn't have time to do it, good. But when you come home for Thanksgiving, you have, and then also a sort of like, okay, this is going to be this, if you don't do it by X time, then I'm not going to throw anything away, but I'm going to bin it up and and again, being very clear, they've got a lot on their plates. They're going to college. It's exciting and terrifying, but it's also like, it's time to put your big girl pants on. Right.
And so how do you feel about not disturbing anything until holiday break in December? Because that was sort of my approach after I got my hand slapped so badly in 8th grade. I was traumatized for that. So I didn't start disturbing things or just really forcing her to go through her stuff until, because they're usually home for so long. They go to college and they come back in 5 minutes, Thanksgiving.
And they're not working.
No.
They're like, I'm in college now and they don't have a job. And so that's a good, I think it also depends a lot on the kid, right? Some kids will be like, well, I don't care. Another kid, if you have a kid who's a keeper and sentimentalist, then, but leading up to it, I think the thing about decluttering, and especially when you're guiding someone else, is just not to ambush them, right? That's the thing. So it's like, great, I hear that you didn't have time to do this over the summer because you were working your job and you were saving and you went to orientation, but you will be home for 3 weeks over the winter break. So we're going to set that aside. If you can't make that time, when you go back, I'm going to pack some of it up. I think it's just being clear and like really understanding and, and it'll be so, also, I think that first semester away, so much change happens that they may be like, I went away to school and I'm like, I'm never coming back here. This is great.
You and I were like, out the door, see ya. But a lot of kids,
I'm buying my own
boys,
food.
I know. Yeah. They come back.
They come back and it's a different time.
Right.
And I totally understand that. It's not like, my first apartment, I think I paid like $300 a month rent, like some absurd, like I could work in a coffee shop and so that's not the same, but
no.
It really is. And again, it's getting clear as an empty nester, what you want to do, what's your goal, what's your family's goal. I always say to people, one of the benefits of decluttering is that if you need to make a decision, the hard work is already done. If you decide, we want to sell our family home of 40 years and we want to downsize and you haven't done any of the work, you're like you're in the mud. Right. But if you've been decluttering and you've been thinking about it, you're like, that's not so bad. So sometimes post, like at the beginning of empty nesting, it's like, oh, let me just take a minute. Let me look at my own closet, right? What am I dressing like now that I'm not doing the school pickup, or it's really it's a lot. It's a time of change for the parents too.
Huge. What if you're not on the same page? What if one parent is about letting go, packing it up even, let's say, and the other one not so much? What do you do with that, T?
This is probably one of the number one questions I get from people. And as you know, hilariously and cosmically, my husband is lovely and clean. Our house is always clean, but he's so messy. And I think in all things with marriage, as I'm learning, is what's the compromise? For me, it's explaining to him, like, having a messy kitchen means I can't cook when I want to cook and cook healthy. So that's really important to me. Like, for him, he would lose his keys all the time. And so I'm like, but if you put your keys in this bowl, you'll know where they are. So sort of showing out. So there's, we've kind of learned and compromised of what spaces are more important. And I just don't go in his office. There you go.
That's fair. I like that.
I'm like, I'm good. Let's just
stay out here. I think that's good to have your own space. It's different with kids, right? Because you're living together as adults. But I know for Dave and I, I wanted to get rid of a lot of the kids' stuff, and the whole Barbie Jeep thing. We had George's Barbie Jeep. I think she was probably 20 before he finally let it go. The garage,
but it's also
right?
kind of and this is really important too. And I talk about this so much that just because someone has there's such a leaning into that if you're more organized or if you're more of a minimalist, that somehow you're right and they're wrong. And that's not the case.
I'm right.
No, I know. Well, of course we are. But understanding that, like, your husband's incredibly sentimental, and that's one of the loveliest things about him, because it shows up in this other way. And so I always circle back to, keeping all this stuff, the Barbie Jeep we've talked about, we can't access our garage. So is that serving us? Like, is your sentimentality helping us use utilize our space. Not you're wrong to be sentimental, but
Yeah.
like we want to park a car. I think he bought a fancy car that he wanted to, like, wasn't that what got him to finally clean the garage? Is he had a car that he wanted to put inside there?
Yeah. And the expensive car is outside the garage and the Barbie Jeep is inside garage. How do
Right.
we
So,
reconcile that?
right. And also, you know, just this reminder that especially as your kids go off to college, that you're not, you don't want the Barbie Jeep. You want to remember their childhood, and you know, you want to keep and you will, and you'll take pictures and you'll have plenty of things. I should drop it in here. I just saw the coolest woman. I just found her on Instagram. I think she's a multimedia artist, painter, and you send her your kids' artwork and she makes these painting collages out of them.
Mm.
They're so awesome. I'm like, what a cool thing to do. You know, so I think there's kind of finding those things. But here's the other thing to remember. Keeping a lot of the memories of childhood, one, for a lot of kids, those are your memories, not theirs.
Ooh.
Right? Like, right? They're like, well, I don't remember
You're
that.
like, I don't remember going on that field trip. You know,
totally.
that one thing.
Or that participation trophy I won, you might have. So is it their memory or is it yours? Yeah. And also, are you hanging on to so much stuff from the past that the messaging is your best days are about? You were so great as a kid. Like, oh my God, I loved you as a child. And it's like, you've also got to, as a parent, make room for this next step.
Yeah. Ooh. That's a good point, that when we hang on to things, it could be because we, as parents, are holding on to that identity. Vanessa says 100% true. Holding on to our identity, you know, when whoops, I think we just lost Tracy. Did she go away? She'll be back. So I'll just keep talking, but you know, we hold on to those childhood things because who are we when our kids go away? You know, there's so much of our identity of who we are is wrapped up being a parent, being a mom, being a dad when the kids are little, that we don't know who we are. And so we hang on to that stuff maybe. I don't know. What do you guys think? Drop it in. Here's Tracy. I know she says, where am I? I don't know where you are. Let's see. Tracy, how about if you, I'm going to see, I don't know what happened. You disappeared. If you're still here, Trace, drop off maybe and then come back on. That's so interesting. Okay, let me see. Don't you love Instagram? You just never know. Let's see. I bet she's coming back. Oh, there you go.
I don't know. I'm here. I don't know what happened, dude. Mercury's in the microwave. I don't know.
Okay.
But crazy. Yeah, that exactly. I did hear what you were saying about, you know, who you are. And I mean, it's such a, and also here's the other thing, like, go easy on yourself. Like it's all so, it's such a big change. Like maybe it doesn't have to be perfect the minute they leave, right? Like maybe you like, you know what, for them, for us, we're gonna wait until the winter holiday. I just think we're so hard on ourselves, and well, this has happened, and we've got to do this, and we've got to make sense of it and get control of it. And maybe it's a little fluid.
That's a good point. Don't have to do everything all at once, and as we adjust, because we are all adjusting when our kids go away and when they come back. Okay, Trace, let's run through the clutter block. My stuff keeps me in the past as an empty nester. So we were kind of touching on that, right?
Yeah,
when
definitely. And when you were a kid and when we were a young family, and, you know, I mean, I had a client say to me, her kid's 14 or 15, and, you know, we were like cleaned out all these toys of his, and she was like, it's just like his childhood never happened. Mm-hmm. And I was like, well, that's a bit extreme. Mm-hmm. So, you know, just are you supporting your kid and yourself into this next phase?
Huge. Okay, clutter block number 2. My stuff tells me who I am.
Okay, I want to talk about this. So this is basically you shop or you buy things for your self-worth, right? I have logos, I have this. I want to talk about this in these bananas shopping, decorating for dorm rooms. Like, I mean, and I saw it because when my
I think
stepdaughter left.
Bed Bath and Beyond made that up, by the way.
Of course they did.
They're out of business.
I know. Well, there you go. I mean, I just like when she left last spring, like the parking lot was just, the trash cans were just overflowing. Actually, UC Berkeley, where you're at, they set up, this was so great. They set up basically in one of the parking lots when everyone moved out of the dorms, you could leave stuff and then the community could come and take it. And like, it's great. So this like, I have to have this perfect dorm room and and it all has to be new. It's like, go on Facebook Marketplace because there's some kid who's selling it who bought it for their dorm
Or
room and
giving it away. Yeah.
So just being really mindful of like that over shopping for the dorm room so it looks good for social media.
Well, and as a parent, when you're taking your daughter, I don't think her sons, like they did not even care. I think I read somewhere one of these empty nester things about, the daughter had 6 suitcases of, 3 clothes, 2 filled with shoes, 1 with banners and throw blankets and photos and frames. The boy has 1 suitcase.
Yeah. And
I mean, I'm being totally stereotypical, but it's like that. But who are we buying all that stuff for? Is it really for them? Or is it for us so we can feel good when we take the pictures?
No, that's what I feel like. It's like, it's all for the picture. So just be mindful of that. I mean, I've gotten a lot of those questions and I'm like, look on Facebook Marketplace. My God,
yeah,
there's so much good stuff out there. And by the way, they're only going to use it for 9 months.
Right. And then they're going to want something different anyway.
They're going to need an apartment and they're not going to be, and they're grown up and now their styles change and now I'm boho and, so be careful of like, my stuff tells me who I am.
I love it. That's so good. Okay. Although I bought over this last Labor Day weekend, you would be very disappointed in me because I had a lot of fun on Amazon with all the sales, but I bought a lot of things for my home gym. So my stuff is telling me who I am right now.
There you go.
Working on my body. Okay.
Yeah, no. I mean, and that's the thing, like I tell people all the time, I'm never saying don't shop. I'm not expecting that you're never going to buy new things, but it's about an awareness and an acknowledgement of like, that I'm buying this because I need it. I'm going to use it. I want to take my working out to the next level, not because like it's on sale and I've got to, I got to buy this thing. I got to buy this thing.
Okay. There's a little bit of that, but yes.
All right. We're not perfect. Trust me, I just bought a pair of shorts that I was like, I don't need these. And they're kind of not priced very good, but they're so comfortable and I love them.
Yeah, I want them. Sometimes you just want stuff. Okay.
Sometimes you just want stuff.
You just want stuff. All right. So, okay. Clutter block number 3, the stuff I'm avoiding. How does that relate to empty nest, T?
I think it's all that. For that, I bet it's projects you've been putting off, right? Things that you wanted to get done around the house, or also, have you been avoiding what comes next for you, right? When you've been a parent, that's your identity, and all of a sudden now you're like, oh, I don't have to cook for 5 people or even 3, or so how are you, if you're empty nesting, are you taking a moment to be, who do I want to be in this next stage?
And letting the stuff keep you from having to think about that. I remember I'm in groups of different women business owners, and one of them brought an issue to the table for feedback, and it was about dealing with a nanny who had been with her family like for forever, and these kids are all grown up, but it was really more about who she was going to be, when this nanny went away, how that changed her dynamic with her kids. It really wasn't about the nanny. So I think in that kind of a sideways way, it's like how we are about our stuff. Our stuff speaks to often to our connection and our relationship. Yeah.
Totally. And that you've, and yeah, completely. So I think it's about the things that you're avoiding is, who do you want, instead of looking at the negative, like, oh, I'm avoiding all that stuff, it's like, well, who do I want to be?
Right.
This is an exciting time, in the same way that my kid gets to reinvent themselves at college. Who do I want to be?
Who do I get to, right? It's like choosing.
Yeah.
Okay. Clutter block number 4, our favorite, my fantasy stuff for my fantasy life.
So that means all that gym equipment you bought this weekend, you better be using it.
I am. Okay, but empty nesters, what does that mean?
You know,
Um,
I think that like this is where the rubber meets the road, right? Like, let's say you bought, like you said, gym equipment or some craft supply, or we're going to take up bike riding, right? Like, now that you're an empty nester, are you really going to do that? Because before you could have been like, well, I never rode my bike because of the kids. Well, now the kids aren't at contention. So are you going to do that thing you fantasized about doing? Or maybe you're going to be like, you know what? I don't feel safe on a bike, and I feel like I'm going to get hit by a car, and I don't want to ride my bike. Great. Get rid of it.
yeah.
Right. So I think it's kind of understanding that, like, is now that you have technically more time, I don't know if that's ever true, but feels like it, what are you going to do with that time?
Really good. The things we save up, because at some day we're going to do this thing and it's not going to happen. Or
Yep.
maybe.
And by the way, that's okay. This is the big thing, like that, like, you know, I when I'm kind of helping people after their kids have moved out or gone away, there's so much sort of, oh, I never did this with my kids, or I was going to needlepoint these Christmas stockings. And like, it's like, okay, well, you never did it. And guess what? Your kids are great, and you're great, and you're a great parent. And there's no lacking because they didn't get that thing. And so I think that that's a really big thing I see with people decluttering as empty nesters, like all this stuff they bought that they fantasized they were going to do and they didn't get done, because it's just hard to get kids fed, homework, in the shower, to bed. Like, if you can get that done, great.
I'm pretty sure I have a sewing machine in the closet right there that I haven't used because we were going to do some sewing projects. Okay.
Right, exactly.
I'm not worth my good stuff. Does this apply for empty nesting? That
Maybe.
feels more. Yeah.
Maybe.
Okay.
I mean, maybe I'm not worth my good stuff. Yeah, maybe, because it's sort of like, again, who are you going to be in this next phase? Like, do you want to like burn the, you know, I think how this goes is like, did you not use the nice stuff because it was the kids? And you're like, well, they're just going to ruin it, or they're just going to break it. Like, do you like, you're like, oh, they're gone now. Like, I want to use my nice china, or I want to burn this fancy candle, or I want to wear these pretty clothes. Like, that's really like, are you, now that you're an empty nester, do you get to kind of use your nice stuff?
Yeah. I love that. Every day. Actually, I gave away all my nice stuff. I never use it anyway. And so I just use the nice white things that I like. So that's all.
There you go.
Okay. Trapped with other people's stuff.
This is the best, right? This just goes back to the whole conversation about, you know, that the kids go off and you're trapped with all this stuff, right?
Trophies.
Oh,
so many trophies. I did purge a lot of those because you said I could.
Yeah.
But I kept the special ones in one box. You know, everybody fits in one box. 3 people. That's it.
There you go. You get one. And sometimes that's a great thing for you too, is like, oh, here's I'm going to get 2 66-quart storage bins, 2 per kid. They get to put whatever they want in it. And after that, they're responsible for it.
I like it. Like, my mom has a hope chest. Do you ever see those anymore, Tracy?
I mean, I see them when people have been hanging on to it, but nobody gets them anymore.
Yeah, I've never, but it's beautiful. It's a piece of furniture, and I probably got my lack of sentimentality from my mother. So, there's a few things from myself, from my brother, just so, but they're all really special, but not tons of things. I did find my Levi Strauss book report with the denim pockets as the book cover, and I was so excited about that.
That was awesome. Well, here's the other thing to remember. If everything is special, nothing's special. If you keep every homework and test and stick drawing, and like, if you keep everything, then nothing's special. I just was in New York helping a client, and pandemic and things that happened, that, and all of a sudden her boys are 11 now, right? And they hadn't really lived in this apartment since they were 6. And like, to go back with her and to see all that artwork with other sets of eyes, it's like, there were some paintings that were cool. And then there were other ones where she was like, this is just a scribble and I don't know which kid did it. So out it goes.
Yeah, I had a lot of that, like, who did this? Like, oh, I don't know. Oops, sorry. Bye. Trash. Okay, last one. The stuff I keep paying for as an empty nester. Ugh.
Yeah, I think this is in this case really applies to, like, especially now that the kids are out of the house. Like, do you have all this stuff that you bought because the kids were going to use it and you can't get rid of it, but nobody's used it? Like above ground pool or the slip and slide, or like, are the kids going to come back in this and use the house in the same way, right? And you're like, well, I paid good money for it, but if nobody's going to use it, then maybe it's time to move it along.
Let it go. I love that you just said, you paid good money for it, because that, I think, is one of those things that's kind of like the dishes, but with kid stuff, expensive jeans, or what are these things? Video game things, or stuff like that.
PlayStations and Nintendos.
TV, right? Things like that are expensive, but they're not going to use them anymore. So.
And I think, I think that's the thing we have to understand, and this helps us kind of adjust our buying too, is that it's like pretty much everything you buy is a diminishing asset. You're not going to get what you spent for it back ever. Like maybe artwork, hardly any furniture, jewelry, none of it. So if you sort of understand, like, we spent that money and we enjoyed it and they grew out of it, and it doesn't matter what we spent. I had this client say to me recently, she had this dining room table, breakfast room table, and she was like, I want to sell this. And I'm like, nobody's going to buy it. It's not in style now. It's not what people are buying. And by the way, if you sell it, you're going to get like $100 if you're lucky. Mm-hmm. And she's like, but I spent, $3,000 on it. And I was like, well, when? And she's like, 1982. And I'm like, okay. So you used it every morning since 1982. Like, it's pennies a use. Like, you
just amortize that out. Yeah. I think you're good.
So I think that understanding, I think that's such a narrative that people get stuck in, is that, we've all watched too many Antiques Roadshows and all that kind of stuff, where it's like, oh, I bought this and I'm going to resell it for all this money. No, you're not. No. You're not. Come at me. All of you, I've done it. 2,000s and thousands of homes. Like, there's so little that you're going to be able to sell for anything. And again, we, like, my husband and I are big, especially, we buy so much stuff off of Facebook Marketplace, like, which is great. Yeah. And I'm glad somebody gets a little bit of money for it, but you're never going to get full value.
So it's just better to think about it before we bring it into the house.
Exactly.
It a lot.
Exactly. And is this an expense I'm really willing to spend? And I'll be fine when it, that's the thing.
I know you're so good about that. All right. As we wrap up, what's the state of donations? Because I know post-pandemic, you could barely donate anything. People weren't even accepting anything. So it has that improved.
It's gotten better. It's gotten better, definitely. People they are accepting things. I mean, it's still hard, right? You pick up still hard. I'm telling people, local buy nothing groups are unbelievable. You just post it up there and somebody in your neighborhood comes and gets it. I'm a big fan of buy nothing groups, and I'm a big fan of Facebook Marketplace. Even if you just give it away, like, there's always someone. I mean, we had these plates that had come from my stepdaughter's apartment, and they were fine. They were like Amazon basics, whatever. But they didn't work with, I didn't like them, and the size wasn't right. So I think my husband found Facebook Marketplace for like $20, $10. And this lady, young woman came, and a single mom, and he was like, just take them. Yes. Like, just take them, And so those avenues of getting rid of stuff are great. And I think if it's hard for you to let go, to like meet the person that's using it, you're like, of course, take more, yeah.
Because it feels good. It feels good to help somebody who might really enjoy those. Or my next door neighbor does the free buying thing, although there's some random people that come up to her house.
I know. You got to be a little mindful. If you're single or older, you got to be a little mindful. I often just put it like a block down and say, oh, it's on the,
it's on the corner of.
Yeah, it's fine. Just don't be silly. Don't let anybody in your house, for sure. Yeah. But I think that's a great avenue. And I love that people are, I saw this great thing that during the pandemic, this couple built a greenhouse, and everything they got from like doorknobs and glass and everything they got off of a Buy Nothing group. And then when it was done, they had a party and invited all the people who had given them materials for it. Like, it's community building.
That's cool.
I know, is that cute? It's cute.
Wow.
Really cool.
I love that so much. Well, thank you. Hopefully some folks who are struggling, they're still drying their tears because their kids are headed off to school, but then you come back in the house and you look in their room and you go, ah, look at all that stuff.
Right. And you dry your tears and you're like, it's so
And
quiet. And
so
I can eat
yes,
whatever I want for dinner, or
yes,
not.
Or not. I can walk around naked. I can do whatever I want. Yeah, all the things.
I don't
There's so
have to
many
hear
joys.
about like, oh, mom.
Right. My first thing was like, don't ask, no one asked me what's for dinner. Not my husband. Like, don't ask me what's for dinner. That was like my number one joy. So we love our kids. We love our people, but we don't need to love all their stuff all the time.
No, and just, I think, you know, in the wrap up, it's like, this is the time, as if you're an empty nester out there, this is the time to sort out who you want to be. What do you want your house to look like? What do you want to do with your time? How do you want your body to be? You know, is this your time that you've been putting yourself third, fourth, fifth, and now you're like, okay, great, I can prioritize taking a walk with my best friend every day, or, you know, you can start to prioritize some stuff, which is exciting. I
love that. It's like the stuff doesn't need to be like another person in your house, right?
Exactly. Exactly.
Really good. Really good. T, how do people find you if you're in the LA area, but I know you have teams across the country in different places?
I dropped it in the chat because somebody was asking about prices. Info, INFO, at declutterfly, DCLUTTERFLY.com. Email us. We're expanding across the country, which is very exciting. Here, this is a great place, at Tracy_McCubbin. Lots of good stuff on there. You can always DM us. We look at every DM, which is a lot, but
a lot.
But so, yeah, I'm here. This platform's a great place. Or info at declutterfly.
Really good. And at minimum, grab the books. Seven.
It's good. It's good to read, especially the first one, Making Space Clutter Free. It's really good to read it in different stages of your life.
Yeah.
Like that, you know, stuff's going to look very different now as an empty nester. So if you have read it, it might be a good refresher. And if you haven't, it might be a really good time.
Good point. Because I don't think decluttering ever ends. There's just always an opportunity to keep. Let it go. Let it go.
Let it go. It's like cleaning. Your house doesn't get clean and stay clean forever. It's a process.
Dang it.
That's the one. If I could wave that wand.
Yeah. Could you write that book? That'd be really helpful.
Exactly.
Tracy McCubbin,
all right, thank
you. Love you. Appreciate all your goodness. And I know you're going to help some empty nesters shed some things that they just don't need anymore. So
excellent.
Thank you.
All right. Have a great day.
Be well, everybody.
Bye.
Take care. Bye.